Hello and welcome to our Thursday, February 10, 2022 program. This is Shimelis Gebremichael with UMD News Package for today. We invite you all to stay with the program, and for your feedbacks, please use our email address newstips2020 umd@gmail.com. UMD extensively works in understanding, measuring, and doing matters. Our news team is attempting to update you with the latest in Ethiopia, the whole of Africa, and Africa in general. Any of your support, including the provision of news tips, is always welcomed. Before we jump into our news packet today, here are the headlines for the major news for the day. Prime Minister Abiy says he will stop at nothing to end Tigray war. Spokesperson Getachew accuses Prime Minister of calling Africa to turn blind eye on Tigray's genocide. U.S. Congress passes H.R. 6600 to hold Ethiopia accountable and end humanitarian crisis. Sudanese protest group refuses to meet with UN representative. And now we will move into providing more information on these and other news items. As we always say, please do not forget to like and share our programs and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also view the program in other platforms like Facebook. Our news program in English and Amharic languages are transmitted twice a week. Moving to the first news item, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy says he will stop at nothing to end Tigray's war. Spokesperson Getachew, on the other hand, accuses the Prime Minister of calling Africa to turn blind eye on Tigray's genocide. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed on Saturday said his government will do anything possible to peacefully resolve the ongoing conflict in Tigray. Prime Minister Abiy made the remark at the opening of the 35th African Union Head of State Summit in Addis Ababa. While recalling that the past year has been a difficult time for Ethiopia, the Prime Minister said the role played by foreign actors has made it difficult to resolve the problem. On the other hand, the Tigray Defense Force has faulted that speech delivered by Ahmed, saying it will full hypocrisy. It was full of hypocrisy and fell short of expectations. The spokesperson Getachew Reda says Abiy seems to laud the African nations for their support throughout the Tigray conflict, adding that the crisis was internal and precipitated by external actors. Getachew said for some time now, Abiy has been accusing unnamed foreign nations of meddling in Ethiopia conflict, but he is yet to exactly point out the countries involved. On the other hand, Eritrea and Somalia have been linked to the conflict while supporting Addis Ababa. UN Deputy Secretary-General Amina attended the AU summit and met local Ethiopian officials. UN Deputy Secretary-General Amina J. Mohammed attended the 35th African Head of State Summit and met African state and local officials. UN Deputy Secretary-General Amina met with Foreign Minister of Angola, Egypt, and Gambia, among other officials, and discussed risks posed by COVID-19 on the achievement of the Agenda 2030 and 2063, vaccine equity, priorities for COP27, and green recovery in Africa. The Deputy Secretary-General also visited war-affected areas in Amhara and Tigray regions and met with some officials to discuss pertinent matters. American congressman pushing to expand H.R. 6600 to hold Ethiopia accountable. It later on Tuesday passed a bill to end humanitarian crisis in Ethiopia. American Congressman Brad Sherman notified that he has been striving to push the H.R. 6600 amendment, a legal and binding document intending to bring Ethiopian officials accountable for the atrocities they made against civilians. H.R. 6600 is the policy of the United States to support efforts to end the civil war and other conflicts in Ethiopia and gross violations of internationally recognized human rights, war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, and other atrocities in Ethiopia, to use all diplomatic, development, legal tools to stabilize and end violence in Ethiopia. In addition, it helped promote an inclusive national dialogue in order to bring about a peaceful, democratic, and unified Ethiopia. The congressional representative, through his colleague Tom Molinowski, is intending to hold Ethiopia accountable for abuses in Tigray. In his Twitter feed, congressional representative Brown's planned conditions sanctions relief on the Ethiopian government, allowing aid into Tigray and ending ethnically based detentions of Tigrayans. Later on Tuesday, the House of Foreign Affairs Committee passes Kim Malinoski bipartisan bill to end humanitarian crisis in Ethiopia. The House passes this bill introduced by U.S. Representative Yang Kim Tom, and that requires the administration to take additional measures to end the civil war in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Stabilization, Peace and Democracy Act, H.R. 6600, sponsored by Ranking Member Michael McCool and Chair Gregory Meeks, also authorized the usage of sanctions on those aiding in the conflict and suspends security and financial assistance to the country until humanitarian peace conditions on the ground are made later. For your information, yesterday, February 9, 2022, marks the date where the Biden executive order in Ethiopia, issued back in September 2021, is going to start to be effective. Landmark case filed against Ethiopia for human rights violations in Ethiopia in Tigray. Ethiopia accused of serious human rights abuses in Tigray in this landmark case. The Legal Action Worldwide Law and its counsel, DeVos and Plimpton LLP, as well as the Pan African Lawyers Union, have submitted a landmark complaint against Ethiopia yesterday. The day before yesterday, sorry. The law firms have succumbed to the grievance before the African Commission on the Human and People's Rights for serious and massive human rights violations against Tigrayan civilians. According to a press release, the law firms issued the complaint alleges that Ethiopia is responsible for a wide range of human rights violations under the African Charter, including military targeting of civilians and civilian infrastructure, and mass and extrajudicial killings and gender-based sexual violence. It also includes arbitrary arrest and detention, mass displacement of civilians, destruction of property, foodstuffs and religious and cultural heritage sites, ethnic discrimination, and enforced information blackouts. The complaint accordingly requests that the African Commission order Ethiopia to stop all violations and abuses against civilians in Tigray, allow unfettered access of food and humanitarian aid to the region, and ensure the protection of the human rights of all Ethiopians, especially in Tigray. It also requests that the African Commission immediately order these measures on an interim basis to protect Tigrayan civilians from the urgent risk of irreparable harm. Ethiopia, according to this file, has therefore committed a wide range of human rights violations in its war against the Tigray. Lawyers acting for Tigrayan civilians said the complaint marked the first time that the African Union's Human Rights Commission had been asked to take into account conduct of Ethiopian troops in their war with the northern region's forces. Antonia Mulvey, executive director of the rights organization Legal Action Worldwide, said that the alleged violation could amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity, but further investigation would be required. U.S. issues a travel and security warning to its citizens in Ethiopia. The United States has warned its citizens in Ethiopia and those intending to travel there that the country cannot guarantee their safety. In a travel advisory notice, the U.S. Department of State has said that should the situation in Ethiopia deteriorate, the government would not be able to evacuate them. According to the notice, travel to Ethiopia remains unsafe, and U.S. citizens currently in Ethiopia who are considering whether to remain should be aware that the U.S. Embassy is unlikely to be able to assist with departure if the security situation deteriorates and commercial travel options become unavailable. During crisis, the U.S. Normally provides information on conditions in the country, such as warning about areas of arrest, and how and where to seek help. In more severe situations, U.S. Citizens are advised to leave the immediate area or even the country. If it is safe to do so, the U.S. Said that it had limited access to its citizens currently detained in Ethiopia. The Department of State said U.S. officials have had very limited consular access to U.S. citizens detained by Ethiopian authorities, adding that the situation was made worse by Ethiopia's internet and telecommunications restrictions. More than 20,000 refugees flee clashes in Benishangul Gumuz region. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees (UNHCR) reported that more than 20,000 refugees fled clashes in the Benishangul Gumuz region following clashes between unidentified armed groups and federal forces. The report states after the violence erupted, the refugees made their way over long distance to three different sites closer to the region's capital, Asosa. The report indicated that the nearby camp hosting 10,300 refugees was burnt and looted on January 18, 2022. Addis Standard's report states that 22,000 people in both camps were then cut off from access and assistance following the evacuation of all humanitarian staff. The Benishangul Gumuz region hosts more than 70,000 Sudanese and South Sudanese refugees and over 500,000 internally displaced Ethiopians. Sudanese protest group refuses to meet with UN representative. A faction that played a leading role in protests in the uprising that toppled Sudan's former President Omar al-Bashir in 2019 said on Friday it was refusing to meet Volker Partey's, a UN special representative to Sudan. In a statement on Twitter, the Sudanese Professionals Association faction also accused the United Nations Integrated Transition Assistance Mission in Sudan, which parties hates over failing to condemn Sudan's October 25 coup and siding with military leaders. In recent weeks, the United Nations has been holding consultations in an effort to help achieve a negotiated solution to Sudan's political crisis. Egypt and Djibouti leaders met to discuss ties and Ethiopian dam. Egypt's president on Monday hosted his Djiboutian counterpart for talks on improving ties and a controversial dam that Ethiopia is building on the Nile River's main tributary, which Egypt deems an existential threat. Djibouti President Osmail Omar Ghali landed in Egyptian capital of Cairo on Sunday. The Egyptian leader reiterated his country's demand for a legally binding deal on the filing and operation of the massive reservoir of Ethiopia's $4.6 billion Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. The leaders of Egypt and Djibouti also discussed the security of the Red Sea and the strategic Horn of Africa, Al Sisi said, without elaborating. And finally, Ethiopia relics on eBay may have been looted from Tigray, experts fear. A surge in ancient Ethiopian relics for sale online has raised suspicions about links to the reported plundering of churches and monasteries during the 14 months conflict in Tigray. Centuries old manuscript Bibles and scrolls are being offered to collectors for as little as a few £100 on sites including eBay, months after heritage experts warned of the cultural cleansing of the northern Tigray region. Hagos Abraha Abba, a philologist who was in Tigray at the outbreak of the civil conflict, has recorded damage to scores of ancient sites where artifacts were destroyed or looted. Since returning to Europe, he and colleagues have monitored internet sales. For more information on this article, you can look into Times' recent article. Well, that's all we have for today. This has been Shimelis Marisa Gebremichael here at UMD Media. Please do not forget to like and share our program and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow our programs through our other platforms as well in order to become the first to know what's going on in Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa and Africa in general. You can easily reach us via our email address as well. That is newstips2020umd at gmail.com. Thank you for watching and have a good one.